Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Forza Horizon 5 to take a look at a brand new addition to the Forza series, which is this Nissan Tsuru, the most requested car for this game on the Suggestions Hub. As ever, to obtain this brand new addition to the game, all you have to do is complete 20 points of the festival playlist. This week it is the summer season, and as you can see I've done 21 points. You have until next Thursday to do this, but to gain my points I've done the trial, 2 event labs, photo challenge, and of course the monthly rivals, because they count towards every week. So yes, this is the most highly requested car, not just in this game, but in the history of Forza apparently. Right now on the Suggestion Hub, it has more than double the number of votes of any other vehicle on the list, even the SLR McLaren, which is the next most suggested car. This has over 4,000 votes, and that only just has over 2,000. Before the Suggestion Hub even existed, and I think even before this game launched, there was already a petition to get this vehicle into the game. All of this, of course, because of the game's location in Mexico, where this is one of, if not the best-selling, most popular car, pretty much since they stopped building the Beetle, which of course we know from the Vocho story on this game. So I think a lot of people were kind of upset that they didn't put this in and kind of embrace the Mexican car culture like they did with the Australian cars in Horizon 3 and all of the classic British cars that they included for Horizon 4 because of their locations. So if you're wondering why a sort of small, not very interesting box was suggested, that is why it's quite such a popular suggestion for this game to fit its location. As you might expect, it's not exactly a performance car though, with its little 1.6 litre engine only producing just over 100 horsepower and 138 torques. It is though very light, at less than 1,000 kilos, so when I first drove it in monthly rivals, I was actually pleasantly surprised by how fast it actually was. Not that it was fast, it's still very, very slow, and therefore of course starts in D-Class with only 444 as its performance index rating. One interesting thing I did also notice whilst driving this as well, from interior view, is it doesn't have a rev counter, which I'm not sure is particularly advisable, especially if it's a manual, which I haven't actually checked. It would be quite useful to know when to shift gear. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the customization and upgrade options for this thing. In terms of customization and upgrades, there are a few interesting options. Firstly, there's several quite nice manufacturer colours. There's the blue that you kind of earn it in. There's a red, there's another blue, a yellow, a white, and this rather nice green, which is what I'm actually going to put on mine. So then, that's it for manufacturer colours. Now we find ourselves in the upgrade shop, where there are some quite interesting options. Because as well as being just generally quite popular in Mexico, it's also very often used as a taxi, which is why, well, we can put a taxi sign on the roof, which I think is just brilliant. I really wish this was just available for all cars, a bit like the vanity items in the Crew games, for example. There is one that is a taxi, like, rooftop thing. So yeah, slightly strange that it's in whatever colour your car is in, but that's an option. As well as, well, Forza Aero. Yeah. Anyway, that is absolutely brilliant, and there's also bazillion engine swaps, so I'll just quickly scroll through them so you can see what's available. And my particular favourite we'll get to is the last one, which is a quadrotor from a 787B, because of course it is. But yeah, apparently this has more engine swaps than any other car in Forza currently. So yeah, I love the amount of options that's available and that taxi rooftop thingy. But apart from that, everything's kind of pretty standard. But yeah, good to see some unique options. I did think with this update, given they were adding the Tsuru, which is such a popular taxi, that they might bring in a Taxis 2.0 story mode to kind of follow on from the one from Horizon 4. So, yeah, slightly disappointed that they didn't do that, although the story modes are never great in Forza anyway, so don't think we missed out on a lot there. But I'd have thought that would have been a good opportunity for them to add something like that. So then, leaving it pretty much stock, apart from the addition of that taxi sign on the roof, we took it for a drag race against other cars with a similar power output, around 100 horsepower, here at the festival, to see how it compared to some, well, a variety of quite different vehicles. Here we go.
Go!
Come on.
Yep.
Tsuru
here we
is
go.
slower than a Porsche.
Unsurprisingly.
I'm being beaten by an ancient Renault. Come on.
Come on, Toyota. Come on, Fiat.
Oh, he's pulling back very slightly.
There's a gear there somewhere. I missed that shift. No, I think I've got him. I'm probably going to get Xboxed, though.
I don't know. That was very close.
I did get Xboxed. So after that, I've very quickly gone and applied a set of upgrades. Really wanted to make use of that quad rotor, which unfortunately means it's gone up to A class. It was almost impossible to... Well, I wasn't able to get that engine and tyres within B class, which is kind of a shame, because I think that's probably where this thing would be good, given quite how light it is. But anyway, it's got the quad rotor, it's at the top of A class, 868 kilos, so it's even lighter than before, and it now has 718 horsepower. So, yeah, let's see how much of a handful this is to drive. I've left it front-wheel drive, by the way, but it does have improved tyres and all of that good stuff. So then, straight into Horizon Open it was, starting with Sierra Verde, where I was on pole position, but managed to find myself in the wrong view and not recording at the start, so I kind of messed it up. Then I took most of that race getting used to how the car drove. Wasn't last, but it wasn't exactly a great race. Then it was the Riviera Sprint, which was better as it was even more high speed than that first one, but still not great for the most part at least, and I hit a few walls and things at the beginning. I did eventually get third though, and was pretty close behind the top two. Bahia de Plano was the final race, and somehow that went almost as well result-wise as the first one, although this was easily the one that I had the most fun round, partly because it's a circuit and I tend to know them a bit better. But yeah, that was super fun, and I got a lot more used to the car by that point, although down the start-finish straight it was wheel spinning all the way to the first corner in 6th gear. Eventually though I did finish third again though, but I was a bit further back than I was in the previous race, so wasn't quite as good as those. I'm actually fairly pleased with 2 podiums. I didn't expect to do that well even, but even at a mostly power tracks in that session, I was struggling to manage that. And third in a lobby of the size of 6 or 7 people isn't exactly a great achievement. But anyway, it was then back to the upgrade shop for a more sensible set of upgrades, this time in B class. So my more sensible build ended up being not all that sensible. Basically what I did is I put a Nissan GTR 6-cylinder engine in it, so it now has 327 horsepower, but didn't then do any other power upgrades. Basically, I did street tyres, street suspension, all the street parts, race anti-roll bars, and, well, let's hope that that handles okay. Again, it's still front-wheel drive, but that's probably a bit more manageable in B class than it was in A, with, well, about half the horsepower. So here the first race was the Vulcan Sprint, where interestingly there was another Tsuru, but there were only 4 players at the start of the race, with 1 leaving midway through, meaning there was only 3 of us in the race by the end, which is a bit of a shame. I am actually quite surprised how dead this game feels now. I think a lot of people must have just moved straight over to Motorsport, and to be fair, that is quite a new game at this point, so I understand why people would be playing that instead. Anyway, my Tsuru had a lot more power than the other one, which was clearly an all-handling build, but being faster than anyone else on the straights meant I actually won that first race. Then, after an eternity of loading, it seemed, we were at the Estadio circuit, one of my favourites in the game actually. Here the other Tsuru at least kept up with me for the first couple of laps, but I did eventually win again, with the fastest lap in the 107, so I don't think that's great, but it's not too bad. And the next best was the other Tsuru in the 109s, so I was faster than all the other cars on track, but I don't think it was a great lap. And finally it was the Reservorio Sprint, where I built up a huge lead on that first half, where it's pretty much flat out all the way. and then towards the end was surprised to see the other Tsuru right behind me in that sort of twisty section, which kind of makes sense given it handles that much better than mine. It did eventually out-handle me enough to overtake and take the win there. Still though, 2 victories and a second isn't too bad, I suppose, although given there was only at most 6 people in the lobby, there were more in that final race, but yeah, at most there was 6 in that final race, I think, but given there was between like 3 and 6 people in the lobby, I don't think that's a great achievement, and yeah, it's kind of a shame that that few people are in this game, because if it's going to be only 3 people in a race, it's not really worth racing. But overall, the Tsuru wasn't too bad in B class, even with my set of upgrades. And that is going to do it for today's video, taking a very first look at the brand new addition to Forza Horizon 5, which is this Nissan Tsuru. It's great to see the most highly requested car ever in Forza's history finally added to the game after so long. My only complaint really is that it wasn't added sooner. I'm slightly surprised they didn't put a taxi story mode alongside it, but I don't really enjoy the story mode, so it doesn't really bother me too much. But yeah, great to see this thing in here. Has some fun upgrades, including that taxi sign, which I think is just great. Had so many engine swaps so that we can do a bazillion different things with it. I think it's great how much freedom and stuff they've given us with this, and that unique customization option, as well as being not too bad in B class, I found, which isn't that surprising of a car this light, I don't think, and potentially with a better tune it would be competitive even in a full lobby, or at least keep up with good-ish cars. I don't think it's going to be the fastest thing out there, but yeah, I think it could be decent in B class, given the right tune. Although, like I say, if there's only going to be 3 or 4 people in lobbies now, it's not really worth racing. But yeah, really happy to see this thing in here, so do go and get it if you haven't already. Don't miss out on the most highly requested car, which is such a important car in Mexico. I think everyone should go with this, because yeah, it's a great thing with lots of options. Anyway, that is going to be all for today, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next one very soon.